Hey, what's good, y'all? I told y'all I'll be back, right? You already know what it is. We finna get into it. Right back to some King Von. This probably gonna be like the last segment on it, so just let me know what y'all really think, man. Just let me know, man. Hit me up in them comments below.
The beef that would take his life. Barely a week after the release of his debut album, Welcome to O-Block, King Von's story would come to an abrupt end. The week before his death, King Von would be reflecting on Instagram just how far he'd come, and reminding himself to enjoy these times because he knew there would be hard times coming.
Going through this just losing so many people, gang. I lost so many people, man, going through this man, crazy. But now look where we at right now, you see what I'm saying? Like times like this, you gotta take it in. I just told my homie them, y'all gotta take this in, you see what I'm saying? Looking for them. I'm here with day one, this shit. And we in this winning, man. And we living on King Day. When we ain't dead and we ain't in jail. And we ain't broke. And we ain't, life you gonna be down again. Like I'm up right now. It's gonna be times, I'm gonna go through some more. I'm gonna go through some, you know what I'm saying? But I'm gonna think back to this time. I could always reflect on this time, like. Everything was going good in my life. Everything was going. That time, everything going good right now. Like right now, everything going good. I ain't got no complaints. I ain't mad about nothing. I know I done lost a I don't understand a lot of but I ain't even mad about it.
Sadly, the good times would end suddenly, and Von would end up losing his life at the very height of his career. His album, Welcome to O-Block, had debuted at the unlucky number 13 on the Billboard charts, ironically, just one position above NBA Youngboy's album, Top, that had already spent 8 weeks on the chart after going number 1. Then, just after midnight on the 5th of October 2020, Von would tweet his location for the evening. He was playing a show at Atlanta club Opium. Von would go live on Instagram on the way to the club, seemingly in good spirits and rapping along to his own music. He would do a live pre-show with the name of the club pinned, and he would be seen on Instagram, posted up, smoking.
It's crazy how he talk about it like it's like from like way back. I feel like this shit just happened too.
Hookah with his entourage of O-Block natives. He would go on to play that concert at Opium, where he would be seen jamming out on stage at the club, surrounded by his team and shouting out somebody in the crowd for wearing Not From 63rd merch, as well as dissing girls who were acting stuck up at the front of the show.
Man, I see everybody in this y'all act like y'all don't see a motherfucker, but I see a motherfucker in this bitch gang. I see you got that 63rd shirt back there, my this shit, no, I gotta get back gang. Oh, no, this
Why bro right here looks so uncomfortable? He like, what's going on right now? He don't know what's going on.
I had to get back gang. I love that. I love you gang. And it's all love in this tee up shit. I done dropped that on that Welcome to O-Block. That going crazy. I don't want to thank everybody. You know what the going on. Stretch gang, there's a lot of bad hoes in here. I've been walking through them. Damn, it's decent shit in here. We trying to party and have fun in this bitch. I ain't gonna lie. We got the little bougie. They acting bougie right here. They right here. Y'all better stop that, man. So we finna tee up. I got DJ Bands in this.
Just after 1 AM, King Von would retweet a Young and Ace lyric with a caption saying that his crew are going to catch somebody and he sees them as food. Because while King Von is performing at Opium, Quando Rondo and his entourage are fresh off recording a new music video for the song The Drop, being seen on social media showing off an array of high-powered weapons that they're holding onto. After finishing his show, King Von would be seen leaving Opium in an SUV, and interestingly, that truck can be heard playing the NBA Youngboy song My Window as it was driving away.
There'll be a lot of cars behind him. Stop playing!
Apparently Von would confuse his team by choosing not to go back to his Airbnb as his security crew initially thought. Instead, Von would take a last-minute and unexplained detour to the Monaco Hookah Lounge where Quando Rondo was, with King Von's manager, 100K Track, later telling DJ Vlad that his team was blindsided by the change in plan.
He went over there to the after party, and then his driver and his homeboy let us know that we was redirected. We're thinking we're gonna go to the Airbnb or the hotel.
At around 3:20 on November the 6th, King Von would find himself outside the Monaco Hookah Lounge in Atlanta. Perhaps he knew Quando Rondo would be there, or perhaps it was just a coincidence. All we know is that while there, Von approached Quando Rondo and began assaulting him with a flurry of punches, with Quando's close friend Lil Tim opening fire and striking King Von 4 times. Security footage of the fight and subsequent shooting would circulate online after the incident. What happened that night is that Von walked up to Quando Rondo and sucker punched him outside the club and proceeding to beat him up in front of a huge crowd. But after throwing a few punches, Quando's friend Lil Tim would jump out of a car and shoot King Von 4 times. Von's friends from O Block, Slutty and Louie would attempt to shoot Lil Tim, leaving him wounded but not dead. After shooting Lil Tim to the ground, they would attempt to execute him on the floor, but the gun would jam. Whilst this is going on, a wounded King Von continues to wrestle with Quando Rondo on the floor. At this point, Von's other friend Muwop would approach, punching Quando Rondo to the ground and separating him from Von. Meanwhile, after failing to execute Lil Tim, Slutty and Louie would attempt to flee the scene, without realizing that they were running directly towards undercover police officers who would open fire, believing that their lives were in danger too. The police would kill Slutty and leave Louie in critical condition. Muwop and other O Block members would drag King Von's limp body to a waiting car and rush him to the hospital. But what's even more crazy is that Quando Rondo would take Lil Tim to the very same hospital that King Von and his team were at, with Quando Rondo even going live showing himself trying to get Tim into the hospital and get assistance. PHF Bezu would later post saying that he'd seen Quando at the hospital, suggesting that they would have shot him if he didn't start recording. But ultimately, King Von would be rushed into emergency surgery in critical condition after the shooting. He would ultimately die in hospital, with media all around the world waking up to the news and reporting on his death.
Yeah, Rick and Sean, according to GBI, rapper King Von and his group were at Opium nightclub before making their way here to Monaco Hookah Lounge, then to the parking lot where chaos ensued. Believe it or not, this all playing out right in front of 2 Atlanta police officers.
One of them was actually inside his patrol car, or next to his patrol car with his blue lights on.
APD responding, attempting to stop the shooting, but it was too late.
It hit like one officer that did respond. He tried to protect himself and stop what was going on.
The investigation on this shootout will continue. No officers were injured during this incident. According to GBI, this is the 82nd officer-involved shooting that they've been requested to investigate in 2020.
The man acting as...
After King Von died, some of the friends of people Von was rumoured to have killed would post on social media. Billionaire Black would post a picture of Modell McCambry, and the person who was shot with Modell the night he was killed posted a picture of FBG Duck, saying that Duck would be happy greeting Von in the afterlife. P5, aka Crack's cousin, would post on Facebook saying that he had been praying for the day that King Von would be killed, whilst other friends of Crack would post tributes now that their friend's killer was no longer alive. Apparently, Crack's little brother would even post saying that they caught 2 of the 3 people who were present when Crack was killed, and suggesting that they were disappointed not to be the ones who killed Von. Outside of Chicago, affiliates of NBA Youngboy like Big B would mock King Von in an Instagram story, saying that it was funny that he was the one who started the beef and dissing NBA Youngboy, and now he was the one dead.
The joke's on you, you diss, now you getting wrapped down. Yeah. Yeah.
Meanwhile, people on Von's side would express their heartbreak at losing their main man. Asian Doll claimed to want to die when the news came out, and Lil Durk would mourn the loss of his twin. Even rap's #1 superstar Drake would post a tribute to Von after he passed. NBA Youngboy's biggest enemy, Fredo Bang, would also mourn the loss of Von too. 12 days after his final tweet, somebody would take control of King Von's Twitter account, releasing a statement thanking everybody who supported Von whilst he was alive. There would be a media frenzy around King Von's death. Funeral homes were also refusing to take King Von's body due to fears of violence at the ceremony. And when the family finally found a place that was willing to host the funeral for Chicago's most famous killer, they were forced to have it at 1 day's notice. Eventually, Von would get the peaceful burial his family had hoped for, with Von being laid to rest in Chicago on November the 14th, 2020, with pictures of Von's funeral program and casket being posted on social media. But being such a divisive figure in Chicago gang politics, Von's enemies continue to disrespect his gravesite to this very day. Naturally, Von's death sparked a strong response from many of his supporters. 600 Breezy claimed to be headed to NBA Youngboy's hood at 150 miles an hour with the Steppers. BJ, who was also shot the night that King Von was killed, would also post saying that their ops are cursed now that O Block is after them. Meanwhile, NBA Youngboy affiliate Michi replied and said that people only really slide in silence.
Right there all day, doing no hell, scary, doing all that capping, get on that, all that shit, man. Real don't speak. Hey, if you go do something, man, do something. You don't come to no city and annihilate you in the city, man. You was supposed to slab out that, man.
Von was eventually memorialized in his native O Block with a painting that became a tourist spot. This mural became a pilgrimage for both die-hard fans who wanted to show their love and death-defying ops who wanted to show that they're not scared to come to O Block, with longtime rival FBG Cash posting up at the mural with a disrespectful caption towards Von, with Cash himself ending up being killed only months later. Once a few months passed from Von's death, his self-proclaimed twin Lil Durk would dedicate his next album The Voice to King Von, releasing it on December the 24th, 2020 with a front cover that depicted Durk and Von together. And eventually, Quando Rondo would break his silence about his involvement in the incident that claimed King Von's life. On the 20th of November 2020, Quando Rondo releases the song End of Story, a song that's title is a disrespectful play on Von's most popular song, Crazy Story. And in the song, Quando touches on the incident that ended up taking King Von's life, expressing frustration about being judged and saying that other people's friends wouldn't have defended him like Lil Tim did, as well as essentially dissing King Von and his friends, saying, "Blood on your brother on the ground, go pick your mans up," as well as rapping that him and Tim are claiming self-defense and that Von should have never put his hands on Quando. He would also claim that this situation led to $1 million bounty being put on his head. And following the release of this song, he would also elaborate further on the events that unfolded that night in an extended interview with Angela Yee, speaking on the situation, saying that the night that Von was killed, he thought he was just letting a group of random people walk past before being suddenly sucker punched by Von.
Like, I'm thinking it's some regular individual. Next thing you know, a nigga hit me.
Quando would say that the entire incident felt like an out-of-body experience to him.
It's like I had an out-of-body experience.
Quando would also claim that the moment that King Von came over and started to fight with him, he felt like the devil was coming to get him.
Like, it's like the devil was coming to get me, like...
Quando explained to Angela Yee that Lil Tim was his day one homie and he would protect him from anything.
One thing about it, he gonna protect me with anything, which anybody should do.
Apparently, while the gunshots were going off, Quando says that he prayed, unaware of what was going on and only coming to his senses after both Von and Tim had been shot.
On some out loud screaming jive, like out of body experience. It's like everything went back normal and I've been back down.
Quando was adamant that he didn't even know that it was King Von that he'd been fighting until the next day.
I didn't know this was him. Ma'am, I swear to God, on my soul, ma'am, like, ma'am.
Quando would also say that he didn't know about the beef between Youngboy's camp and King Von's camp when this all went down.
Cause I know dude just dropped the tape. Like, was they trying to do something to me? Just boost him up or like, what? I don't know.
You just don't know where. You just don't know where it came from. You have no idea.
However, unfortunately for Quando Rondo, there would be more tragedies headed his way personally following the death of Von. In the aftermath, Quando Rondo and his team would be a frequent target of what appeared to be revenge attacks. He would be targeted in a shooting at a convenience store in Georgia on the 2nd of May 2021, luckily escaping without injury. But in the next incident, Quando would be less lucky. On August the 20th, 2022, Quando Rondo and his entourage would be targeted in a shooting in Los Angeles, an incident which left his close friend Lil Pab dead and a devastated Quando Rondo being recorded at the scene in the immediate aftermath. King Von's life was one of extremes. He grew up in extreme poverty with a major disadvantage. He found himself being drugged into the extremely violent streets of Chicago, and he ended up being allegedly one of the most violent killers in O-Block's history. By the time he died, he had been connected to at least 11 murders that I've read about. But ultimately, we'll probably never know the full extent of Von's activities in the streets. There's no doubt that Von was a prolific gangbanger and shooter, but having spent so much time analysing him and the things that he did in his life, it's hard to ignore the pleasure and pride that he seemed to get, not just from killing, but being known as a killer. An everyday gang member or even mob hitman tends to kill for survival or money. But for Von, reading all of his tweets and lyrics, it's clear that he derived a great deal of psychological pleasure from the killings that he was associated with. It seemed like he was more satisfied by carrying out a hit in the streets than making a hit record. And perhaps that's why, when he got rich and famous as a rapper, he couldn't leave that in the past. Because he wasn't killing to survive, he was killing for fun, and gaining satisfaction from the whole world knowing what he had done. There was no reason for Von to take so much pleasure in the murder of Can't Get Right, and there really was no reason for Von to put a $100,000 bounty on FBG Duck's head. Von would have been a millionaire by this point, and FBG Duck was also a successful rapper in his own right. Duck wasn't a threat to the survival of Von or any of his friends at this point. No, to Von, Duck was just another trophy, another body on his tally, another score on the board. Sadly, many people look up to King Von for what he did in the streets, but I don't think that's much different from how other serial killers seem to get idolised. Someone like Jeffrey Dahmer was known for targeting black gay men in his community, partly due to the fact that he knew he could get away with it. And when it comes to King Von's alleged victims, it seems like he had a type too. Young black men and women from the same poor and overpopulated area he was from. Because, perhaps like Jeffrey Dahmer, Von knew that the cops simply didn't care enough to solve these crimes, so he knew he would get away with it. And he did get away with it. For his entire life. Von would beat every murder investigation that his name was ever placed in. But if he was alive today, he very well may have been facing a life in prison for his role in the killing of FBG Duck. Von gave the world a lot of great music that told one of the most unique and raw stories to have ever come out of the Chicago drill scene. Von will definitely be remembered as one of the biggest and best rappers to ever emerge out of the city. He made great music, but also did terrible things. And so realistically, he'll probably also be remembered as rap's very first serial killer.
Well, that's the end, y'all. That's the end. We got through it, man. Let me know what y'all think, bro. You know, just like, subscribe, comment, and yeah, bro. Next, I think we're gonna do Atlanta next. I don't know nothing about Atlanta, so I just know a Young Thug, you know, yeah, so we gonna see about that. We gonna see. So yeah, y'all already know. Like, subscribe, comment, and yeah.